Hello to all my Diversity Matters subscribers. My name is Oscar Holmes IV, and I really appreciate your support. And to show you how much I appreciate your support, as a Diversity Matters subscriber, you get exclusive access to listen to Beyond the Mill, my live diversity dialogues talk show that I created and host on campus at Rutgers University-Camden. Now, because it's a live show and recorded using a different system, the audio quality isn't as consistent at times, but I promise you, the guests and content are great and you'll love the show. Plus, if you're ever in the area, please join us to be a part of our live audience so that you can enjoy, listen, learn, network, and ask our guests questions in real time. Enjoy the show. This is our second episode of Beyond the Mill. I'm so happy that you're here with us. We have some great guests today. But before I start, I just want to talk to you for a second and go over just one little issue. So today, I want to address representation. Because I have a really great friend. So when the flyer went out, a great friend of mine, she was like, "Where are the women?" Because we had two men on this episode today. So diversity and representation is obviously really important to me. And the way I explain it, so this is a talk show, right? So it's not a panel. So I specifically didn't want to invite more than two people at a time because I want to have a more intimate setting with the guests that we invite on. So much so that panels, like I even ask, if I'm asked to serve on a panel, I ask who's going to be on the panel, just so that I can know if there's enough representation for me to serve on that panel. So for this, since it's not a panel situation, we can't get complete representation for each of our shows. So it's not that I'm not thinking about it. It's not that I don't think every voice is important when we have these types of topics. It's just that because of the setup, I only want to do a max 2 guests at a time. So we can't cover every aspect. But if you look through the guest list for the entire season, we have 6 episodes of everybody except one person has confirmed so far. There's a lot of diversity in all the guests we choose to have on. So, because some of you may have had those questions as well and concerns, I just wanted to put it out there now that I do look at those things. I do care about those issues. But this is not to be a panel. It is a talk show. So the guests won't ever typically represent every dimension of diversity when we discuss a topic. So today's episode is LGBTQ and U. And we have some phenomenal guests for you today. All right, so our first guest is Dr. Jason Rivera. Dr. Rivera is the Vice Chancellor of Academic Student Success here on campus. He has his PhD from the University of Maryland, College Park. And Dr. Cameron Whitley, he is the LGBTQIA Program Coordinator for the Office of Diversity, as well as has a PhD from Michigan State University. So, please welcome my guest today, Dr. Rivera, Dr. Whitley. Come on up. All right. Welcome. Turn this off right now. Welcome to Beyond the Mill. How you doing today? Very good. Thank you. Good? Get comfortable. Take comfortable. So, both of you are new to campus, so why don't you just give the audience an idea of what brought you to campus, what do you do, your role, where can they find you?
You want me to start? This is kind of an interesting story. I came to campus because my wife is a professor here in political science. She actually had a job here as a professor. And so I started out here by approaching Neal, who works as the director of the Gender Studies program. And they were doing a program on trans issues. And I said, hey, you have a trans studies class. I want to teach that. And so Neal was like, well, send me a syllabus. Let's see if we can negotiate something. And that's how I kind of started being the Rutgers campus. In terms of where I am now, I still teach in gender studies. I do a bunch of research. I'm actually an environmental sociologist. That's something totally on the side. And I work at the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, so you can find me on the third floor of this building, 311. My door is usually open. If it's open, come on in.
So I came to campus in January by way of Swarthmore College, where I was the dean of the sophomore class and director of the Cultural Center. And I was interested in pursuing the opportunity here at Rutgers, primarily because Swarthmore was not a good fit for me. I have a PhD in minority and urban education, well, curriculum instruction with a concentration in minority and urban education. And I professionally have worked in a number of different institution types. Swarthmore was the first small elite institution that I ever worked at. And it was not good fit. I know that I need to be in an environment where there are many more Black and brown students, where there is an urban context to the environment. And when I looked at Rutgers and the particular position, it was an instant draw for me. I have been engaged in student success work for well over a decade, probably nearly 2 decades now. I had a career as a classroom teacher in the K-12 system before I went into higher ed. And so student success has always been a framework that has been important to me, and one that I took a very particular interest in when I started working with Black and brown male students at community college in New York. And so that's what really helped me to pursue that work at the PhD level, and what has really sort of informed the way that I have chosen to sort of build my career in the trajectory. And so this was just a perfect fit for me to be able to lead student academic success initiatives at Rutgers Camden. And my office is actually located, so one of the things important to me is that I have connections and relationships with students. When I started here, my office was in the chancellor's office. And I felt like that was a really nice place to be, but it was very much a replica for me of the ivory tower. And the only time I would see students is when they had concerns or there were problems. And I wanted to be in the space where students would actually be, so that I could actually feel the pulse. And it's funny because while I worked in the chancellor's office, I spent a lot of time in the campus center. And people would walk by and see me in the campus center and say, "Is this your office?" Like, you're here all the time. It was really that I needed to be around students and needed to see what was going on with students. And so now I'm not in the campus center as often because I'm in Armitage Hall, in the Center for Learning and Student Success, where my office is located.
Great. So, both of you have kind of made a little bit in terms of being here. How does that make you feel, and what do you want to say about that definition?
So this is an interesting question for me because I feel like this has been my experience over the course of my life, right? So when I was in college, I was the first openly gay Latino student government president. And so it was the first time that I was in a role that people like me weren't in, right? Or that may have people like me, meaning LGBTQ people, may have been in those roles, but they weren't out in those environments. And there was a lot of pushback, and I think we're going to talk about our stories, and so I'll share some of that with you. But it actually was the first of being the first in many instances. So when I was in Maryland, I was at Montgomery College for quite a long time, and I was the first in every position that I had there, aside from when I was hired into. I created those positions. And so it's just, in some ways, been the hallmark of my career to be the first and to blaze the trail. And it's hard. It is really, really hard. And overwhelming sometimes, right? So at Rutgers, I'm if I'm not mistaken, the first Latino to be on the leadership team of the institution. And that is a huge responsibility, right? And so I feel that pressure often, and oftentimes when I may not necessarily even be thinking about what that means, it's in the room and it's carrying itself around, and I have to sort of acknowledge that. And so it's a wonderful opportunity, I think, to really broaden the scope of conversations we have on campus about diversity, and what diversity looks like, to extend the conversations beyond the paradigm or the binary of black and white, and to really be thoughtful about how we think about diversity, inclusion, how we build a climate and a culture that really recognizes the strength and the breadth of diversity on our campus in intentional ways. And so I think it's really hard.
So I identify as a trans man, and I transitioned 15 plus years ago. I don't know exactly. And so for me, 90% of the time, probably I'm the only trans person in the room. That's just how it is. And I'm pretty well used to being that person. And I think on this campus, up until about a year ago when I really started my position in diversity inclusion, I felt like the only trans person on campus. And in the way felt that anytime there was anything related to trans anything, that I was the one that was called on. And that was really challenging and really difficult. Because I don't speak for every trans person. I can't represent every trans person's experience. Just within the trans community, we are so diverse in experience, identity, all these different things. So that can be really challenging. Since starting my position in diversity inclusion, we have a thriving trans pioneer community. And some of you may know that. You may see these students in your classes, in your offices. But I see that daily. And that's, as someone working here, is exciting. And it's exciting to be able to mentor some of these younger trans and non-binary. So for me, there are real challenges for sure, but it's super, super exciting to watch them come in the first day afraid to even say who they are, and then 2 weeks later be plastered with their identity across their backpack, across their shirt, like, hey, what's up? I use these pronouns, you better get that right, here it is, you know. and for me, that's exciting, that feels good.
Good. So many times when we have these conversations, a lot of times we like to dwell on the negative aspects of LGBTQ identity. And rightfully so, there are also, a lot of challenges that the communities have to face. But could you just share with our audience like some of the positive aspects, like some of the great things about being part of the community in your perception?
You want me to start? Everything. So being queer, so I would put myself in the queer identity category, is the most wonderful.
All right. Building up to you.
Some music in the background. Right. Yeah, so the queer community is so amazing, and I'll share a real personal story really quickly. I suffered from kidney failure a couple of years ago, and in that process, I needed to reach out to my community to get a transplant, and I put it out on Facebook, and within 2 hours, I had 70 people who had filled out the application within my community, LGBTQ identified people who wanted to donate a kidney. And so I feel so embraced and loved in the queer community, and I feel as a trans person, there are so many ways to connect with other people, and so wherever I go in the world, there are tools where I can connect with someone. So, I'm going to Texas in a couple of weeks, and I've already reached out to people, and we'll have coffee, and so there's this really vibrant community. So personally, that's exciting. I do a lot of research on LGBTQ identities, and specifically trans identities, and I just did a paper with a colleague that showed that trans people participates at rates that are higher than cisgendered individuals. So in elections and the political process. And so that's exciting. And that's because we are connected and we're political. And part of it is the reality that we are attacked, right? Like that is the reality. But we have this very intimate, unique connection to our community. And then the last thing I'll say, and I was talking to one of my students about this, is that the queer community gives space to play. It gives space to explore identity. It gives space to be yourself in so many different beautiful ways. So for me, I'm a Lego enthusiast, and there's no shame in that. Like I have a million sets, well not million, but a lot of sets of Legos, and that's something I enjoy. And other people play in different ways in the queer community, and that is exciting.
I would echo that. I think the wonderful part about being a gay man is the community that you build. But for me, I think the greatest gift or joy about the whole thing is being able to be my full self. And there was a period in my life where, and I've been out since I was in college, but there was a period in my life where it was very difficult to imagine life fully because I couldn't picture myself in a place where I could fully be myself. And today, 25 years later, right, I'm happily married to a man who is amazing. I really have all of the things in life that I have ever wanted to accomplish, I've been able to accomplish with a supportive and loving community. Maybe not necessarily my entire family, but the people that I've chosen to be family. And I think that is a blessing, right? I know, and this is an interesting conversation for me, because one of the things that I struggled with, so in my lifetime, I've been homeless, I was abandoned as a kid, I had a whole lot of things that I had to live through, and as part of that journey, I was on a search for community. And so all through my high school years, all through my college years, I was looking for different types of communities. And at one point, I remember going through almost every single religious community trying to find a community, right? And I can say today that I feel comfortable, that I know God loves me, that all the messages that I heard when I was growing up about being a gay man or being a gay person in the church are things that I've been able to sort of dispel and become comfortable with. And those, I think, are like being able to recognize that and to find a space. I like to say I'm constantly in a state of becoming, right? So to find a space to always be and become a better and fuller self in a community that embraces all of those complexities and actually encourages me to explore what those complexities might be when I don't even think about exploring them, I think is wonderful, right? And this idea of pushing against what people think of as normative in spaces where you're affirmed, particularly when you come from a background where you weren't affirmed, is really rewarding. And I don't think I would find that in any other community.
I agree. As well as a openly gay man myself, I think the culture we have is just so phenomenal. The language that we use to curate the clothes, fashion. I mean, it's like we just have a beautiful culture, right? And I think if we focus a lot more on, some of the positive things, and to tell a story that is not just negative, there's so many positives, in this culture that it's just great. So, many people talk about coming out, but some people prefer to use the term inviting in. So, would you be willing to share your inviting in story or coming out story? However you want to.
Yeah, go for it.
I call it a coming out story because I wasn't really trying to invite anybody in. I wasn't at that place yet. So I knew that I was a gay man probably when I was 7 or 8. Like it was very evident. Like there was no question in my mind that I wasn't interested in girls in that way. But I still went through the process. I had girlfriends. I did all those things. I tried to do the rites of passage. I grew up in a home with Latino males and machismo and all that other stuff. And so when I got to college, by the time I had gotten to college, I had already had several sexual encounters with men. And I was always very, very honest about those experiences with the women that I was with, right? Because I always believed my mother passed away in college, but she passed away from complications related to HIV. And so I was always very much aware of that in my life and not wanting to expose anybody to anything they wanted to be exposed to. I'm not positive, but I was always concerned about that. As a teenager, I was sexually assaulted and didn't know what my status was for a while because I was afraid to find out. So I was very honest about those things. But when I got to college in my freshman year, my mother passed away. And when my mother passed away, I had this epiphany about not needing to have anybody's approval, not needing to have anybody's permission to be myself. And I was with a girl who I was dating in high school, and we were engaged to be married in the whole 9 yards. And she knew all about my exploits with men and my confusion, and I was very honest with her. And in my freshman year, she visited me, and she said, I think it's time for you to come out. And we talked about that. We talked about what that meant. And we're still really, really good friends today. And I said, I think you're right. And in full disclosure, when I got to college, I was not faithful to Stephanie at that time. I experimented with other women because I had this idea that maybe Stephanie was the problem, that it wasn't me, and I needed to figure out if there was something else that I was missing. And I got into a relationship with somebody of very long period of time, freshman year, the entire freshman year, I was with another girl while I was with Stephanie, and it just didn't work. I wasn't interested at all. I was able to perform, and it wasn't like that was an issue, but it was just not. But I needed it to do, so I felt fulfilled. And so in my freshman year, I came out at the end of my freshman year. And in college, I was elected freshman class president. And so I was very popular. I went to a very small liberal arts school, Manhattanville College in New York. And when I came out, it was campus news. I mean, it was big news. And I immediately got targeted. So my room was vandalized. My name was graffitied on walls. I got death threats and hate calls and emails and all kinds. And I had to make a choice at that time. And when I got to Manhattanville, I was a homeless high school kid, so it wasn't like I had anywhere to go home to. But I had a choice of whether to stay there and sort of figure this out or go somewhere else. And fortunate for me, I had a really strong college president who was very, very open to trying to figure out how to create a more inclusive community. And he met with me, and we had some conversations, we became very, very good friends. And he called a town hall meeting and set up some expectations for the community around what would be tolerated and what wouldn't be tolerated. He partnered with a SUNY school down the road from us called SUNY Purchase, which was in the SUNY system, the gay school. It was a performing arts school, so that's where all the gay students gravitated toward. And we really worked on changing the culture. And so in my sophomore year, I was elected to a student government position and I resigned and spent time trying to work on building community. And fortunately, so I was the first openly gay student on campus, so it was one of the first experiences. And I spent time helping folks disrupt their own issues with bias. And by the time I got to my senior year, I was elected freshman class president. Student government president. And so it was a very difficult process. I don't ever think about my coming out story with my family. They either got it or they didn't, and I wasn't worried about it. But it was more so about what happened to the school and how I experienced that and what that meant to me. The school, for me, was always a safe space. And so it was one of the very first times the school wasn't a safe place. And I had to figure out how to negotiate that.
Well, so as a trans person, so I didn't feel it. So I was determined female at birth, and when I was about 5 years old, I told my parents that I was not a girl, and they were like, "No, you are. There's like no other option." Right? So this was a long time ago. I lived in Colorado. It was a rural community, predominantly Mexican community. My family is very matriarchal, so my aunt kind of runs the show in my family, and what she says kind of goes. And she was not going to say that. That was okay. So my dad was a really awesome support. He was actually from the South, which is kind of interesting. And he was probably my biggest support. And so every morning we had this thing that we did together, and I would go down to his bathroom and put shaving cream on my face, and from like age 5 up to like age 10, and he would pretend to shave my face. And they would like pat my face down, and this would be like our ritual. And then my dad passed away. So at that point, my mother became really depressed. I took on various like little jobs, like paper route and different things to kind of help me ends meet with my family. And really decided at that point, as we grasped all the time at school, that I didn't want to be in this world. So at 17, I attempted suicide. Luckily, someone found me, and it ended up being okay. And I made the decision at that point that I would go to college, and that if in the first year that it didn't get any better, that I was done. I was absolutely done. So I enter college. The first day, I go to the LGBTQ Resource Center, and at that point, like I'm not identifying, like I don't know what I am. The only representation of trans people I've seen is like I'm Jerry Springer, and I'm like, well, I know I'm not like, I mean, that's not really me. I mean, identity maybe, but this isn't really me. And I walk into this room, and there is this amazing trans woman there, and she's a pre-med student, and she's just your average person. She's happy, she's healthy, she's a little eccentric, and everything's fine. And we sit down, we talk, and I cried for like 4 hours, being like, within that year, I worked with the health department, with the health center on campus, and they had never worked with a trans patient. This trans woman was actually going somewhere else, and they were willing to work with me. So I was their first trans person. The university was great, and so I started hormones and started the process before ever telling my family, because I knew if I told my family or like included them, it would become a discussion, and there would be a family discussion. And I wanted it to be, I'm inviting you in to my life, not we're having a conversation about who I am. So I ended up telling them during the summer, and they did not react great. But I do have to say that now they're pretty good. They're pretty good. And I think the big thing that they saw in me is that I was such an unhappy kid prior to transitioning, and so to see me happy and healthy and thriving, I think was kind of turning.
I think what I heard from both of you is the positive impact that the university can have, particularly with LGBTQ students. So to turn it around and be a positive thing, or it can move out the opposite way. So as university employees, we all have to recognize the safety that we need to provide to our students in these particular vulnerable moments and spaces that we have. So, Cam, I'm going to ask you, because there have been some natural experiments about what it's like life as a woman, as a man, and truly only trans people, in a sense, can really speak to the differences that they experience in life as a woman or as a man. So, can you talk about some of the past privileges you may now see that you didn't see before, and dispatches, things like that? Because unlike most people, we won't necessarily have that opportunity unless we're trans.
Sure, so a couple quick things that I will note. So when I was visually female, when people didn't see this, I was a fairly small looking woman, and I was harassed all the time. As a bigger looking woman, I was harassed all the time with things like you haven't found the right man, or maybe I need to show you who you are, these really horrible things. And so I've seen the harassment and what that's like to experience on some level. And then when I transitioned, one of the first experiences I really felt my privilege is that I used to go walking at night up this big hill in Colorado. So Colorado has a lot of hills. And up this big hill, the rec center was at the top of it, and my apartment was down at the bottom when I was in college. And so I'd walk up this hill at night and I'd go work out. And this one night was really dark, and so, as a female presenting person, I would often try to follow other people and kind of group with other people. And you learn all these tactics as a female-bodied person to check your surroundings and notice these different things. And so I was kind of using the same tactics I had been using for the first 17 years of my life. And this woman in front of me was all of a sudden visibly distressed and kept looking back at me and kept like kind of moving faster. So I was like moving faster. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? What are we running from? And she just kept like, and then all of a sudden she takes off running, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I am the problem. And it was one of those moments where it was like terrifying and affirming all at the same time. I don't know what to do with all these feels. And so you see things like that. I will also say that, so I worked as a deputy chief financial officer in New York City during the financial collapse. And my boss was female, and the president, when he would come and talk to us, would always talk to me first. And so I saw that. And being able to see ways that then I could say, actually, I think this is something that's not, this is my boss's decision on this. And be able to give up the privilege and allow space for other people to speak.
So, I have more questions, but we want to get you into the conversation. So, feel free. If you have some questions for Cam or Jason. Lisa. He's here.
I'll ask a question that will direct to both of you. In terms of Rutgers-Camden, what do you see as like the growing edge in terms of LGBTQI, etc.? In terms of moving this campus forward and making it a more inclusive and open community.
So I'm just going to say one quick thing based on a conversation I had with a student yesterday. And they said to me that sometimes people on campus, specifically faculty and staff, don't recognize that when they interact with a student, that might be their one and only positive, affirming experience of the entire week, of the entire month, of the entire year. And so to give people, faculty and staff, to really, like, this is one interaction, and asking pronouns or using the correct pronouns or correct name or saying something affirming for that one interaction could really change the person's day, week, year, even. And so, and it sounds so simple, but I think sometimes we don't really think about the impact that those little things have on our LGBTQIA students.
I would agree with that. I think one of the things, and I think my positionality is really different, right? And so I have two really different responses I can share. One is that I know that as an institution we are committed to embracing diversity in more tangible ways and many more deeply rooted ways than the superficial approaches that typically happen when we talk about diversity, right? How we get there, I think, is going to be the interesting part of the conversation. But the conversations are being had, right? And I think that's an important thing to lift up. But one of the challenges there is actually having some clear conversations about what it means to be an institution of higher learning and higher education that is trying to understand and embrace diversity without actually having had community conversations about what diversity is and why it matters, right? And that, I think, is a really significant challenge. But again, I think there's plans in place or conversations underway to initiate those conversations and begin to have some of those community conversations. At the highest levels of our leadership, so all the way up to Chancellor Hattie, I consider diversity as critically important. It is something that the institution takes very seriously. But one of the challenges with diversity, and not just here, but in general, is that we don't know what we don't know, right? And so having people who are able and comfortable enough to actually call out when folks are behaving or operating in ways that perpetuate some of the challenges that different communities might encounter, the barriers that they might experience, is critically important. But we have to create a climate that allows for that to happen. And so I think it's very complex work, and we can all, from our various positions and positionalities, engage in that. So one of the things I'm trying to do on the student success side, for example, is engage with my division around conversations about how we take an identity-conscious approach to student success, right? And how we think really specifically and intentionally about the ways that we support the holistic development of a student and not just their academic issue in the moment. And that's work, right? And so, but we're engaging in the work. So next week, for example, we are taking a trip to Swarthmore for the day, my directors and assistant directors, to begin to look at bias, implicit bias, and how you talk systemic bias, and to talk about leadership and using our positionality to do that. And the goal there is to begin to allow that to proliferate through our division as we work with students and then to work with faculty and staff around some of that. I know that Naima Watson, the Associate Chancellor for Civic Engagement, is leading up the Diversity Task Force. And that task force here is talking very explicitly about what diversity looks like institutionally and how we begin to have some of those important conversations. So I think we're pushing against where we have been and the ways that we've sort of understood diversity and trying to figure out how we continue to move forward in the conversation so that they move beyond just conversations to actual embodied action.
So I know Dr. Rivera kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I was just wondering, as queer people, what has your experience been in like any kind of church or religious organization? Because as a queer woman myself, that's definitely been a struggle for me. actually separated completely from the religion I was raised in because I just couldn't reconcile with that. So I was just wondering, since you seem to be religious still a little bit, so I was just wondering how you're able to reconcile with that.
Oscar's patting me on the shoulder because when I got here, he took me to church. Because I'm always looking for a church community that affirms who I am and how I feel, and where I don't have to make excuses or pretend to be something that I'm not. And I think for me, that's the answer, right? It's really about finding the community that you feel comfortable in. And I've, again, had exposure to a lot of different religious experiences. And what I have found is that oftentimes I feel most comfortable in non-denominational environments, right? Where there's not a sort of specific tenet or practice or principle other than Christianity being the guiding focus, right? And so that for me has worked. But I've also positioned myself to be able to ask questions of the people who are leading the churches that I attend, to make sure that they're spaces that are not just saying they're open to people from my community, but actually embody that in the work that they do in the sermons that they create.
So I would echo a lot of those things. I was really lucky in that at the University of Colorado Boulder, we had an ecumenical student group that was Christian based, but I feel like all of the kids that belonged to that group. And it was a really fun, progressive, exciting community. And that's actually where I met my wife. Even though she comes from a very conservative religious background. So I'm just really lucky in that way. Family-wise, the religion piece is a little bit harder. Luckily, some of my cousins recently came out as Buddhists, so I feel like I'm doing okay now. I'm not always the one that's like all the way out. Yeah. So religion can be challenging, but I think that for me the big part, like what you said, is finding a place that affirms my identity, affirms me, and recognizing that the building is just the place. It's what you believe that you take with you wherever you go.
Can you talk a little bit more about your research?
So I do a lot of different things. So I do a lot of stuff around LGBTQ identities, specifically trans identities, and political participation stuff. I've done medical research on how to best support trans people in specialized medicine. It's been published. So a lot of this is published in medical journals or academic journals. I'm also an environmental sociologist, so I do a lot of stuff around public perceptions of energy development, of environmental issues. I'm currently working with the National Geographic Society on a really large-scale project looking at how people perceive images, how these images have an impact on environmental conservation. And so, like our team, we flew to London last December to present to the National Geographic Society, and I've interviewed over 120 photographers, regularly in contact with them. So there's a bunch of different things that I do. But the thing I do want to say to the students is that I come from a family where I am pretty much the only one who has a college degree, and so I didn't know anything about the university environment or even like what questions to ask. I just knew that like I got into the university from a pre-collegiate program, and then I was there and I was like, oh, I don't even know. So I kind of struggled through until I could find some really good mentors, and my mentors actually are queer Chicanos. Like that's their identities, and for me, they have been the most important people in my academic life. And so even today, I will always go to them and ask, like, hey, does this make sense? Am I asking the right questions? I don't even, like, how do I navigate this situation? And one is Emma Perez, and so I talk to her almost weekly about all kinds of things. And I say that because for the undergrads here, who find mentors, find people who, it doesn't necessarily that they have to identify with everything you you identify with, but who are willing to kind of help you with the process and help you with answering your questions. And because of these relationships, as an undergrad, I published journal articles, we published a book together, and because of those experiences, I've been able to connect to a bunch of different people around the world just because I have these great mentors.
So my research looks at factors that contribute to success in college. Makes sense, right? With my position. And what I've done with my research is very different than what most scholars do with their research, right? So not that I'm not interested in publishing, I don't spend my time focusing on the publishing, which is why I chose not to go into the faculty, because I didn't want to live in a world that was publish or perish kind of thing. But I use my research to build programs, right? So an example of that is at Montgomery College, where I was at for 9 years, based on my dissertation and my doctoral research. We built an academy called the Sheep and the Promise Academy, which is a multi-million-dollar academy that works with Black and brown students so they can graduate college. And so I leverage a lot of the work that I do for practical purposes, and that works for me. But I will echo what Cam said about mentoring. Although I've read something recently that got me to really begin to rethink the way I think about mentoring. When I was working on my dissertation, one of my committee members, Kimberly Griffin, is an expert in the field of mentoring. And she used the frame of a justice league when thinking about mentoring. Because most people, when they talk about mentoring, find a mentor or two. And she talked about the importance of being able to find a group of people who fill all the different parts of you. And one person or two people can't do that, right? So she talked about the creation of this justice league. And so I like to think of the people that I work with as my justice league. But then I read something recently about not finding a mentor, but finding a sponsor. And this idea that a mentor is someone who's going to help you get to someplace, but a sponsor is going to move everything out of the way and work with you to make sure that you get an ongoing trajectory and that they're going to continue working with you. And so I really like that idea because I think oftentimes when students think about mentoring, they think of it as a one-off, right? I'm going to work with you while I'm in college and then we're going to be done, or I'm going to work with you for this year and then we're going to be done. And it should be an ongoing, mutually beneficial relationship that should establish that grows over time.
So I want to leave you with this quote. I always like to leave people with quotes. Where you are, the world is, and without your transformation, there could be no transformation of the world. So I want to leave us with that thought. Please tell people about Beyond the Mill. Our next show, we will talk with Dr. Kavanaugh and Ms. Laura Lascano, and we will discuss the Me Too movement. Very, very important conversations there. But right now, please give my wonderful thank you so much for your authenticity, your honesty, and just sharing your stories with us. I learned a lot from you. That was stuff that I didn't know. I was like, wow, that happened. And I'm sure that everyone else also learned a lot from you. So thank you so much. It was fun.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Mill and for being a Diversity Matters subscriber. If you enjoyed the show and want to hear more, please post, talk about, and reshare our show with all of your friends and family. And leave us a favorable review so that it will make it easier for others to find us wherever they listen to podcasts. We cannot do this important work or keep it going without you, so we really appreciate your support. Beyond the Mill is produced by me, Oscar Holmes IV, and TiAira Neal, and receives generous support from Rutgers University-Camden's Office of Diversity Inclusion and Office of Student Affairs. Diversity Matters is produced by WH Consulting, a firm that provides a wide range of management consulting and professional services to individuals and organizations. Original music produced by Sincere Morton Murray. Until next time, peace and love.